here tonight from the offices of the American Indians in Texas at the Spanish Colonial Missions. They are our virtual partner in this community engagement. So thank you to them for hosting us and for you all for joining us. A couple of notes before we begin. This presentation is being recorded and will be made available on our website following the event. So if you want to watch it again, or if you want to share the link with your friends and neighbors who could not make it tonight, please share that link and have them give us their feedback. Excuse me. This presentation will be in English. If you require Spanish translation, we do have a translator available. Please let us know in the chat that you need a Spanish translation. Again, that chat button is in the lower right hand of your screen. Please make sure that you send your message to everyone. Okay, so let's get started. We have with us tonight District 3 Councilwoman Rebecca Villagran. Thank you so much for joining us, and here is a welcome from you, Councilwoman.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca Villagran. I am the City Council member for District 3 that represents the south and the southeast side of San Antonio. And 3 of our 4 San Antonio missions are in District 3, and I do serve as the World Heritage Liaison for the City of San Antonio. I'd like to thank you so much for joining the Department of Arts and Culture virtual community engagement about our World Heritage Trail signage and wayfinding public art project, which will create a brand new landmark near the intersection of Mission Road and East Huff Avenue. This meeting is intended to gather community feedback and determine the theme and narrative of the new public artwork. I'd like to thank AIT, Americans Indian Texas, who is part of our community outreach team. As some know, I was born and raised on the south side of San Antonio and have been part of the World Heritage Trail project team since 2013. And we all worked to gain UNESCO World Heritage designation for our site of the San Antonio Missions. Many of you on this call and watching this virtual engagement were a part of this process. And now is the time that we continue this engagement and having your voice heard. I encourage you tonight to help us through this process by taking in this presentation, and then please submit any questions or feedback during the question and answer portion. Please be sure to ask your questions at this meeting. And please take our SA Speak Up survey and share it with your neighbors. Now, I'd like to pass it back for the Department of Arts and Culture for the details. And I'd also like to thank them for all of their work and all of the work of the World Heritage Office. So, tossing it back to our Arts and Culture Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman, and thanks for all your support for this project. We really appreciate it. We're also joined tonight by Ramon Vasquez. He is the Executive Director with American Indians in Texas at the Spanish Colonial Missions. As you've heard, they are our virtual co-hosts this evening, and we wanted to give them some time to tell about themselves. Ramon.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you, Councilwoman Rebecca Villagran, for your service and commitment to our residents of District 3 and to the citizens of our city. In the language of our first people of the city, I offer this prayer. Tamok apanam tupo, apata tupa taguahayo, tapakwe tapa talo aktai, naho apanako, naho apahasa, ko naho apatamo tuchem, chap aguano, apho hoemo, potsohan, mo yahampo. We pray that the Great Spirit take away this sickness that has affected all the world. Cleanse our thoughts, our hearts, and our spirits. Together we are not alone, we are strong. The American Indians in Texas at the Spanish Colonial Missions is the oldest American Indian organization in San Antonio. We work to preserve and protect the cultural and traditions of the American Indians that lived in the missions of northeastern Mexico and South Texas. As a result of our work over the past 30 years, we have successfully reversed the history of our people from extinction to existence. We are excited to be partners with the Office of World Heritage and Councilwoman Rebecca Villagran on this great opportunity for the South Side, the District 3 World Heritage Trail Public Art Project. Thank you all again, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Ramon, and thanks for helping us with this engagement event and for all of the events you do here in San Antonio. If you guys want more information on the American Indians in Texas at the Spanish Colonial Missions, their website is aitscm.org. Next slide. At this point, I will say I do not see any request for a Spanish translation, so I will continue in English. Throughout tonight's presentation, you can send questions directly to the Department of Arts and Culture by clicking on the chat icon at the bottom right of your screen. Please make sure when you send a chat, you choose everyone from the drop-down menu. We will do our best to respond to your questions before the end of this meeting. If we do not address your questions during this time, we'll follow up with you afterwards. The chat in this meeting is part of public record and open to everyone. We ask that you use the SA Speak Up guiding principles for conversation that is meaningful, transparent, respectful, and inclusive, and that you refrain from using profanity. Next slide. During this presentation, we'll look at the public art process, talk about the project, the provocation of the artwork, some examples of public art, and finally, we'll have a discussion where we want to hear from you, all of your questions and all of your feedback. Next slide. For those of you who are not familiar with public art is art in a public place that has been through a public engagement process to determine three things: where the art will be placed, who the artist will be, and what will be the inspiration and themes for the art. It's approved by our San Antonio Arts Commission. It's managed by a public art project manager like myself, and it's usually paid for with public funds. These funds come from the 1% allocated from our city's bond program. Currently, we're developing public art projects from the 2017 to 2022 bond. Next slide. Every public art project our department manages goes through an extensive process where we check in with the community and different stakeholders, as well as our San Antonio Arts Commission and Public Art Committee. For this project, you can see we're at the very start of the process in the community engagement portion. We're here tonight, if you haven't guessed already, to get your feedback to determine what kind of artists should be selected, what the themes of the project will be, and what the sculpture will look like. Next slide. I also wanted to take this time to mention that an artist has not been chosen for this project and won't be until next year. And in addition to this project along the World Heritage Trail, we have several other public art projects coming up in need of artists. So if you're an artist, or if you are an art support service provider like a graphic designer, a photographer, a videographer, we will have an open call for our pre-qualified list. If you apply to be on this list and are approved by our Public Art Committee, the San Antonio Arts Commission, and City Council, we use that list to select artists for projects. So I know there's lots of creative people out there. Please, please apply for this. Even if you think you may not be the right artist, please apply. We really want you to be on this list. Next slide. So before we get started into the meat of the presentation, I did want to plant these questions in your mind as things to think about as I go through the location and sample artwork. We'll have a discussion about these questions at the end, so please feel free to comment anytime. You don't have to wait until the end, but we will wait to address any questions until the end. The questions we'd like you to look at are, what words and images stood out most to you? What do you believe is important as we consider artists for this project? What excites you about this project? And is there anything else that we need to know at this moment in time for this project? Next slide. So to give y'all some background information, in 2017, after the bond was passed, our department did citywide community engagement, and that engagement led us to zero in on the World Heritage Trail as a location for a future public art project. The Public Works Department is working on many projects in this area, but the one our project is associated with is the Signage and Wayfinding project, which will see new signs installed along the World Heritage Trail. We thought it would be a great opportunity to create a new landmark along the trail which highlights the culture, heritage, and history of the missions, the people, and the neighborhoods of the area. Because it is a location along the World Heritage Trail, there are parameters set in place by the World Heritage Beautification Assessment and by the Office of Historic Preservation. We want this public artwork to stay true to the history, look, and feel of the World Heritage Trail. Next slide. So while I do want to spend all our time tonight talking about art, if you have any questions about the Public Works projects, please contact Sean Bouvet. He is the Capital Projects Officer with Public Works. His email and phone number are on the screen. Next slide. Some of you may have attended the World Heritage Open House put on by our lovely colleagues at the World Heritage Office earlier this year. If you did, you saw me talk about this location. The location of the artwork is proposed to be on a traffic island at the intersection of Mission Road and Huff Avenue. As you can see on the map, this is very close to Mission San Jose, Mission Marquee Plaza, and the future World Heritage Center. It's on the World Heritage Trail and will encourage people to continue traveling along the trail. Next slide. So here is an overview of that traffic island. You can see circled in red is kind of the area that within that island that we're looking at. This is possibly an archaeological site, so we will, of course, be doing lots of studies. Next slide. So I'm going to go through some different angles of this traffic island. So if you are not familiar with it, you can kind of get a glance at it. Here you can see we are on the southwest corner of that traffic island, kind of looking northeast here from Huff towards Mission Road. Next slide. Here is that same area on Mission Road looking more west. So right around where those trees are is where we would potentially put a sculpture. Next slide. And again, this is on the street parallel to Mission looking towards Huff from the west side of the traffic island. Next slide. And again, finally, the views looking northbound and southbound as you travel on Mission Road, which is the World Heritage Trail. Next slide. I'm sorry, could you go back a slide? So I did want to note that, as I mentioned, we will be working with the Office of Historic Preservation through their design guidelines for the Mission District. We want to ensure the scale is also appropriate for the area. Given the residences and businesses around this, we think the sculpture should not be more than 12 feet high. but this is a great spot for wayfinding and placemaking along the World Heritage Trail between Mission San Jose and Mission Concepcion. Next slide. Some of you may have already completed our Essay Speak Up survey for this project. If not, please do so. The first question on that survey asks you to rank some different potential themes, which you can see here. The possible themes are history of the natural environment along the World Heritage Trail, history of the indigenous population along the World Heritage Trail, culture and life along the World Heritage Trail, historical architecture of the World Heritage Trail, and a look toward the future along the World Heritage Trail. There's so many fantastic things about the trail, the vibrancy, it's expressive, it tells many important stories. So please take our survey and help us choose a theme. Next slide. So here are two examples of public art that already exists along the World Heritage Trail. On the left, we have a series of 4 murals. We call them the 4 Seasons murals. These are done in 2018 and are on Via Main under 410. These 4 artists use symbols of the Coahuiltecan culture to depict the flora and fauna of the changing seasons. Chris Sauter's core samples is at the Mission Branch Library. These 2 sculptural planters resemble geological core samples that could have been taken from the library grounds. This work shows the importance of history, in this case, the history of the natural world. Next slide. These 2 artworks are not part of the city's collection, but were done by the San Antonio River Authority. Arnie Keens's Whispers is near Mission San Juan and serves as a portal between the mission and the river. These sculptures' shapes are inspired by the mesquite, oak, and pecan trees, while the colors are inspired by the mixture of colors you see in native wildflowers. Margarita Cabrera's Arbol de la Vida is a large sculpture which includes 700 clay sculptures made by the community. Now, while this artwork is out of our budget, I wanted to show you this because it talks about the ranching history of Mission Espada. And if you haven't seen this piece, please go out, take some binoculars, and spend a couple hours looking at all those incredible clay sculptures up there. Next slide. So these are 2 examples that have to deal with animals. Jack Robin's Butterfly is a 12-foot tall steel sculpture comprised of multiple snout-nosed butterfly silhouettes. The sculpture is on the Leon Creek Trail, and the circular shape, as well as the butterflies, speak to the location near Leon Creek. Paige Holland's Chips and Salsa sculpture is located by one of the city's animal care facilities. These brightly colored cut steel sculptures of dogs and cats serve as a wayfinding guide and a cheery invite to go inside and adopt a new pet. Next slide. These artworks show how a grouping of tall, thin artworks can still make an impact. Duck Pond by Bill Fitzgibbons shows the silhouettes of 8 steel ducks in flight at the entryway of Heritage Park Duck Pond, while Prairie Grass makes the entrance of one of the city's service centers and is reminiscent of the prairie grass we find in many areas in San Antonio. And to me, this prairie grass just makes me think of that sound of the wind moving through the tall grass, and it just instantly makes me feel relaxed and happy. Next slide. Here we have 2 works which tell a larger story. Open Hand, Open Mind, Open Heart is at Pittman Sullivan Park and is a landmark for the end of the annual Martin Luther King Jr. March. This is a 32-foot tall sculpture made of perforated steel with 2 rings in the palm and the base. The open hand symbolizes a gesture of nonviolence. The open ring at the bottom calls for the visitor to step through and commit to the nonviolent philosophy of MLK Jr. Aguas Angeladas is a sculpture at the entrance of Elmendorf Lake Park. The rippling shape of the steel reflects the lake's movement. And cut out into the sculpture are 2 poems by San Antonio Poet Laureate Carmen Tafoya. The poems talk about the history of the lake and the neighborhood. Next slide. These 3 examples are from Texas. They each tell different stories. On the left, Pursuit flies above the entrance of the El Paso Zoo's Birds of Prey exhibit. The stainless steel hawk and the tree have rusted over time to blend in with the zoo's architectural design. In the middle, Reach for Your Dreams is a limestone column at the entrance of baseball fields at a youth sports complex in Austin. Within the column, you can see the history of ball playing from early Aztecs to the kids playing today. On the right, in Houston, double physichromy is a visual trick of the eye. The color you perceive from far away is actually made up of many parallel lines of different colors that intersect on different planes to create that color that you see from far away. Next slide. Those are just some examples of public art in San Antonio and a little bit through Texas. You can view all of the city's public art on our website at sanantonio.gov/art. So to give you an idea of our timeline for this project, our essay Speak Up survey, as well as the feedback from this meeting or the recording, are due to me by December 1st of this year. We'll look over all the feedback and the survey results, and we'll hold an artist selection panel next spring. From there, the artist will work on a concept and final design. And finally, the artwork will be fabricated and installed by spring 2022. We hope by then we can have a dedication and a celebration of this artwork and all the community's involvement. Next slide. So I showed you these questions previously, but now it's time for me to stop talking and to listen to you guys. As a reminder, the questions are: what words and images stood out most to you? What do you believe is important as we consider artists for this project? What excites you about this project? And is there anything else that we need to know? So we're going to take a 2-minute pause here for people to write in some questions, write in some answers to these questions, or if you have other questions or comments, please write them in. Remember to use that chat icon and select everyone from the drop-down menu to send your message to. So we're going to have a 2-minute break, and we will be back at 5:57. Okay, we're getting some comments and questions, so thank you for those. Keep them coming. I'm going to start with the first comments and questions we received and keep going. So we had a comment, in answer to question 1, what words and images stood out most for you? The words were culture, fits in with the environment. We had a question, how many survey responses have been received so far? So I don't have that number for you right now, but I will definitely email you what we have. Again, the survey is open through December 1st, so please encourage everybody to take it, and we really want to get a representative number from the community in response to this. So I appreciate your help in advance on helping us spread the survey. And it is available on our website at sanantonio.gov/arts, as well as the city's SA Speak Up website. Okay, we had a answer to question 2. What do you believe is important as we consider artists for this project? Consider an artist from the community or South Side. The public art speaks to the history of the community. We would love to have somebody like that. So please, again, we have to choose from our pre-qualified list. So please encourage all the great artists that you know. I know there's lots of creative people. Please encourage them, even if they're not a sculptor, to apply to our pre-qualified list so we can have them on an artist shortlist. Okay, we had a comment. Please describe efforts made to survey residents and small businesses located in the areas surrounding the public art site. So this is the very start of our journey together, but I hope you guys will stick with us. As with lots of our virtual community engagements, we have kind of standard places that we advertise, but we also, that's why we partnered with AIT and with our friends at World Heritage to reach out to the neighborhood associations and the people that they know. We want to get as much of the community involved as we can, and we could use your help in making sure that we reach people, but especially the residents, to speak to your point, the residents and businesses directly surrounding this area are very important to us. Okay, we have a comment. Art that relates and communicates about place is most successful. Agreed. Seconding Kosa's comment too, I was figuring how to ask, what can we do to better prepare local artists to make themselves attractive candidates? So this is something we have artists of all skill levels, whether you're an emerging artist or an experienced artist. We have programs and times when we help mentor artists. So really, we want to hear an artist's point of view. We want to see what work they've done. We want to see that passion. So we really are open to working with lots of different artists. And for this project, especially artists from the South Side, it would be so important to have. So please, like I said, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but please, please do apply to be on that pre-qualified list. If I didn't mention this before, it opens on Friday and goes through January. We are going to have a workshop to talk more about our projects and about our list, and I believe that will be in December. So if you're an artist and you don't follow us on social media or sign up for our newsletters, please do. We post our public art opportunities, but also community art opportunities as well. Okay, comment. Artists selected should live in San Antonio or Bexar County. I think we agree. Okay. Please describe efforts. So that comment we have already talked about. Question, do you already have projects being considered? So I'm not sure what that question is referring to, possibly the other public art projects. As I mentioned, we have many public art projects associated with the 2017 bond. Some already have artists selected, some do not. So we still have opportunities for artists to get involved in either this project or other projects as well. Okay, question. Also, if archaeological discoveries are made, might we encourage the final vision of the art to incorporate those discoveries into the spirit design? So yes, so you know, we do all kinds of surveys before we begin. I think any history of the area, whether that's proven by archaeological discoveries or history that we know, is something that can be included, and that's one of the themes that we want you, the public, to select. So it's definitely a possibility. Okay. Comment. I envision a cross or symbol reflective of the Catholic culture. So again, we're looking for themes. Please rank the themes from our Essay Speak Up survey as your order of preference. And we will go by what the public decides. So please take the survey, but we will keep your comment as part of the feedback. Okay, question. Who will be on the selection panel for choosing the artist for this project? So I don't have specific names, but our selection panels for any project are made up of three kinds of people. They're made up of representatives from our San Antonio Arts Commission and Public Art Committee. Those people are selected by mayor and city council to sit on that arts commission. We have community representatives. So that could mean neighborhood associations. That could mean local business people, local residents. It's very wide, but we really want somebody in the neighborhood who will be seeing the art every day. And that third kind of person is the stakeholder or the owner of the piece. So once we create the sculpture and we install it, our parks team will be maintaining it. And also, because it's on the World Heritage Trail, as I mentioned, we are working closely with the World Heritage Office for making sure that they are involved in this project. So that's kind of a broad answer. And like I said, we're not going to select an artist until the spring and have an artist selection panel. So again, who exactly on that panel is, I do not know. We have not decided yet, but that kind of gives you an idea of who. Question, comment. I envision an artwork focused on the indigenous people who built Mission San Jose. This location is almost eyesight from Mission San Jose, so I think we included it as one of the possible themes, and that's definitely something that we can address. So the comments I have so far, I'm going to give people a couple minutes here. I love that the comments you're asking and what you're sharing and your level of interest. This is really great. Okay. We have a question, not specifically about this project, but a question about public art. Is this also the process group that manages art bus stops, or is that VIA? So VIA manages the bus stops. They are the owners and builders and maintainers of all the bus stops. And they do have art programs available. So that to answer your question, I would say if you have any interest in art at a bus stop or talking about a bus stop, please contact VIA. Okay, I'm going to give it one more minute. And again, if you, thank you for attending tonight. And if you want to watch, we'll record this. If you register for tonight's event, I'll be sending you an email with the link by the end of the week. So watch it again. Again, share it with your friends and neighbors who couldn't make it tonight. We're going to continue to reach out to people in the area. We are gathering feedback right now. So give us all your feedback, all your ideas, and we will continue on this project, which brings me to a question that we got. Would you go over your timeline again for this project? So Stephanie, we could go back to the timeline page. Okay, so like I said, our engagement period kind of closes on December 1st. We'll do an engagement report, so we want to make sure that any engagement we get are included in that report. Next spring, after the pre-qualified list gets approved by the City Council, we will have an artist selection panel, and that artist that panel chooses will be approved by the Public Art Committee and the San Antonio Arts Commission. Once an artist is approved, we'll begin contracting, and that artist will begin researching, we'll begin interviewing people. You know, by then we'll go with whatever theme ranked highest. They will create a concept. At that point, once we have a concept, we will probably hold another community engagement event and share the concept with you guys so you can give us your feedback again at that time and make sure that you're happy with the concept that the artist has come up with. Once that concept gets approved by the community and stakeholders and our Public Art Committee, the artist will work on a final design. So kind of advancing that concept and thinking about, you know, the engineering and structure and everything. We will have that final design in the fall of next year. Once that final design gets approved by our San Antonio Arts Commission, we will begin fabrication. So I have fabrication from winter, so late 2021 through spring of 2022. Once the piece is fabricated, we can install it and have a dedication probably in late spring of 2022. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of the discussion and planning. This is important to our community. That was a comment. There are many, many descendants living in the area. Please allow them to share their stories. Yes, we want people to share their stories, and I know our partners at AIT have reached out to anybody involved with that. Question, what was the third group of people for the selection panels? So the third group was the stakeholders. So that is, again, it could be a lot of different people. For this project, it's, you know, the World Heritage Office and many of the groups and neighborhood association that this location is in. And if you are interested in it, possibly being on the artist selection panel, please let me know and we'll take a look. And we're, of course, limited to how many people we have on a panel, but we love to have artists, people, community members who are interested and want to be on the panel, be on this panel. Okay, so that's all the questions I see. If I missed your question or if you get more questions, please do email me or give me a call. I'm happy to chat with you guys further. Next slide. Oh, and like I said, please give me any comments by December 1st, and please fill out that Essay Speak Up survey by December 1st. Next slide. At this point, I want to thank all of you for attending and sharing your opinions with us, and we really take them to heart. Thank you for trusting us with them. Please fill out the survey. Please have artists apply to be on our pre-qualified list. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you to Councilwoman Villagran for attending, and to Ramon Vasquez and AIT for hosting us and helping us get the word out tonight. So thank you, and hope you stay in good health, and good night.